All right, last one. We get two functions, f and g. It says find the values that satisfy the MVT for f from -2 to 14. Okay, so these are x values, remember. So -2 is an x value and 14 is an x value. So when you're doing this, as soon as you see MVT, remember the formula. F prime of C equals F of B minus F of A, all divided by B minus A. Okay, so we're looking for the average rate of change and the instantaneous rate of change. Now, most of the time, this guy is what your answer is. Okay, so it says find any values that satisfy the MVT. So you're looking for that C. All right, so the first thing I do is I find the y values for the -2 and the 14 by plugging them into f, and I get -3 and 1. After that, I find the average rate of change. And so the derivative of f has to equal 1 over 4. So I find a derivative, and because it's a big old rational expression, I have to use the quotient rule. So I use the quotient rule right there, and then I do some simplification, and then I get to the point where I get to set the derivative equal to 1/4. And so once I got here, I just cross multiply, and I find two answers at the end. I find 10 and -2. But -2 can't work because it has to be inside the interval, not one of the endpoints. I know it says included right here, but it doesn't work. It can't be an endpoint. It has to be inside the interval. Okay, so your answer for that one is 10. And then it says find any values that satisfy the MVT for f on this interval. So we're doing pretty much the same thing. However, we stop because we know that the asymptote is at -4. X cannot equal -4. And in order for MVT to work, it has to be continuous in the interval. Remember writing that on the memory exams? F has to be continuous. And so you could do all the work here, the same work that we did up here, but you'll get it wrong because you didn't check the asymptote right here. The asymptote is -4, and because -4 is in this interval, MVT doesn't apply. Okay, so I explained that right here. There is an asymptote at, same thing, I just keep saying it. I don't have to keep saying it over and over. All right, next one, it says, find any values that satisfy the Rolle's theorem. What the heck is that? Well, guys, that is MVT, but it's special. What that means is, for the Rolle's theorem, we get, let's see, what do we do? If the Rolle's theorem works, G prime would equal 0. And so what you need to do to see if Rolle's theorem works right here is you have to take these x values and see if they subtract to give you a 0. Okay, so here's the MVT. I'll do it with G. Mean value theorem says that the derivative at some value C equals G of B minus G of A, all over B minus A. I haven't said anything new, except now, since we're talking about Rolle's theorem, it's still MVT, but what's going to happen is the average rate of change and the derivative have to equal 0. So in order for Rolle's theorem to apply here, our two y values at the top, they have to subtract and give you 0. And the only way you can subtract two numbers and get 0 is if the y values are the same. And so what I did here is I first found the y values for these, and I got 79 and 48. And because when I subtract these, it doesn't equal 0, or you could say because they don't equal, Rolle's theorem doesn't apply. Down here, for this one, Rolle's theorem does apply because you see the two y values, they both equal each other. So when I set up the MVT, all I have to do is find the derivative of G and set that equal to 0 because the average rate of change is 0. Okay, so that's the only difference between Rolle's theorem and MVT. Rolle's theorem is MVT, but the slope is equal to 0. All right, quickly curious what I did down here. Oh, I just did, I did the work a different way, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so, I mean, you guys should know by now, my way is not always the only way to find the right answer. So if you still got the right answer, but you found it a different way, good job. There's only a few things that you got to make sure you have, and that's like when you're justifying, you say things a certain way. But anyways, if you guys have any confusion, please ask me in class.